Public News, Michael Shellenberger is here. So there's a serious trend going on just this year, 2025. We haven't seen a lot of pushback. Why, Mike?
Hey, Jesse, great to be with you. Yeah, I mean, it's remarkable, isn't it? We haven't seen a significant left or progressive leader come forward like a Martin Luther King would have come forward and demand nonviolence and emphasize the importance of nonviolence. We're dealing with a power vacuum here, Jesse, where the left has been so badly defeated and discredited after a decade of calling Trump and his supporters fascists and Nazis, saying that civilization is doomed because of climate change, that capitalism is ruining the planet. They've used extremely violent rhetoric for a decade, and now that they're out of power, the desperation is setting in, and there's nobody on the left to speak with that moral voice that they need.
Would you call for Democrat leaders throughout the country, or religious leaders, any sort of leadership, to say something that actually makes an impact? Because if you just have an assistant tweet something, I condemn all violence, I mean, what does that do?
No, that's right. I mean, look, the Democrats, they really need to call for a day of peace. They need to demand nonviolence. They need to get back in touch with that. But the party has been radicalized, Jesse. I mean, this is something that we've been seeing happening for a really long time, where there's been these fantasies of violence and of civilizational destruction, calling humans a cancer on the planet, suggesting that there's a kind of white supremacy that's killing black people, that, which was all a hoax. We know that the deaths of black people at the hands of white police officers and other police officers has gone down for 50 years. The trends have been moving in the right direction, but the left has become extremely violent and aggressive in its rhetoric. That's got to stop now, Jesse. I just think there needs to be a very strong message that somebody on the left, Obama, Pelosi, Schumer, they need to make it very clear that their party rejects violence. I'm kind of shocked that they haven't done so already.
If the Democrats had a legitimate legislative agenda, if they had ideas that they were pushing, that people were getting behind, that they were holding hearings, there's, something, would that kind of fill the vacuum? You're saying that because they have nothing going on, just the violent underbellies bubbling up?
Yeah, you got it. It's spot on, Jesse. I mean, look, the Democrats have not defended the core parts of their agenda ever since Donald Trump was elected. They've abandoned the racial quotas as DEI. They've abandoned transgenderism as trans medicine and trans in sports. They've abandoned climate apocalypse. They've run away from all their issues because they're completely unpopular, that agenda. So what's left? The destructive vision of the future, the apocalypse, the anti-humanism, the anti-civilization. It's got to stop. I just don't know what else I can say about this, but the left has got to get its act together. That's got to start from the top. The left needs to put an end to this, or it's going to go from bad to worse. This should have happened weeks ago. Strong denunciation, a strong statement, a strong condemnation, and you're right. A few posts on X, on social media, are obviously not cutting it. People are losing their minds, and now they're killing people. It's too much. That message needs to be sent very clearly from the top of the party on down.
What do you think drives the destruction? The blowing up of cars, the destruction of cities, the tearing down of statues, the murder, the mayhem. What is that about?
I mean, it's the French Revolution all over again, or the Chinese Cultural Revolution. It's an attempt to kind of destroy the past, to sort of condemn the past, condemn the United States, which is the most anti-racist nation that's ever existed. We fought a civil war that killed hundreds of thousands of people in order to end slavery. We've reduced our carbon emissions faster than any other country on Earth, have done more to contribute to clean energy than any other country in the world. America has this incredibly exceptional, positive record on all the things that the left claims to care about, but they've become convinced that the United States, that Western civilization, and that humankind are functionally evil. They're in the grip of a very dangerous, nightmarish view of the world. They've been preaching it for years. They had a policy agenda that would attempt to sort of mediate that space between their radicalized base and the political world, that's gone. And so there's no more restraints on the madness that has been contained for so long. And so that's where it's a leadership vacuum. Something's, things that can't go on forever don't. And so the Democrats, look, they're going to destroy their party. I mean, you're just going to end up having a different party than Democrats in 5 or 10 years if you don't get a change.
I think you nailed it. Very, very smart analysis. Mike, thanks as always. Good to see you. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.